Welcome to Fathernetics, Fatherhood Unfiltered. I'm Jamil. Welcome to the podcast.
You can never find somebody do it like me. I'ma turn it all the way up, cause it kamikaze. Go ahead and try, baby. You are gonna see that you'll never ever.
All right,
find somebody
everyone,
do it
welcome
like
back. We have with us another guest of honor, if you will. We have Robert. He is my brother-in-law, married to my sister, Johara, who has
Lucky man.
provided us with his time today to provide a different perspective on fatherhood. He is a father himself and obviously has a wealth of experience now that he has a recent graduate, a almost 18-year-old. So, I mean, you are
About to cry.
getting up there in age, like an 18-year-old, which it's kind of crazy for me too, because it's 18 years of my life too that he's been alive. So it's like, wow. And then I have a 12-year-old, which in, 6 years will be going through the same process. This is, I mean, we're getting old.
I don't receive the old part. I think old is
Older.
wiser.
Oh, okay. I mean,
We're getting wiser.
I'm okay.
We
with
should be
old.
getting. We should be getting wiser.
I mean, I'm
I
rocking.
mean, we're
the
gonna
old
age
pretty good,
regardless, but you should be getting wiser and all that entails. But some people,
Hey,
I'm
like,
getting old and they just start
fine-
shriveling up.
I'm a fine wine, young man.
Yes.
I could say, young man. We're roughly about the same age. I don't know what we're
By
talking
some
about.
months.
All right, Robert, tell them how we know each other.
I am, as he said before, I'm Jamil's brother-in-law, and I'm married to his sister, which I'm very grateful for. She's brought a lot of light into my world when we first met. So
It's
that's
been how long? 20.
this year in September makes 21 years.
21
22 years together.
21 to our 23. With
Yeah.
Nicholas.
So we met 22 years ago in May. This coming May. Wow. Wait, May just passed. So 31st, we're in May. May 31st makes 22 years.
Oh, you almost messed up.
Don't tell her that.
Oops. No, that's okay. You're still on time. You've got days.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so you're also a father, and as I mentioned before, recent graduation ceremony this month for your son. As a dad, in this moment in your kid's life, what does that feel like? Because there is a wealth of history behind how you got here. So as a father, what is that like?
It is a real bundle of emotions from a variety of angles, and my objectives all along to be at this point was for my son to walk away from high school and feel like he's ready to take that step and go into college, or if you want to take on a trade, wherever it may be. Just wanting him to feel confident enough in himself. Because you're still learning at 17, 18 years old. So your world is just beginning. So confidence is always kind of a up and down kind of thing as you're learning in that time period. But I just want him to feel confident and want him to feel like he can embark upon this next level, and also to have a relationship with him. So that if he says, hey, Dad, I'm not sure this is making sense. I'm scared. I'm nervous. Or I came up short. That he can express that, number one, and then number two, that I can come in as a dad and say, okay, this is how we can pivot. This is how we can deal with that. Okay, everything fell apart, so let's regroup and let's go about it this way, or let's figure out the best possible way. And I feel very confident that if he hits some struggling or some challenging times, he can handle it and also be able to think and rely on his sources, which is his mother and I. So as a father, that's what I want him to be, and then just be ready for the world, because the world is crazy, and so
It's changed a little bit, just a little bit.
yeah, and to be able to go out there as a Black Latino man and understand his space is important, and not let someone down it, and so he understands that and he's aware of that.
So that's your thoughts on this milestone for him, which I think is perfect. And I have a couple questions on that. But what does it feel like for you as a parent in this moment, now that you've reached
Very proud.
Yeah.
Just very proud because he is has a better start than I at this age, and it's his stage in life, and that's what I wanted him to have.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm extremely proud of him. It's a very like
Surreal.
surreal but very heartwarming moment for me right now because I'm just watching this young man. That's what he is now. He's a young man.
Does this kind of like click from when you were graduating and how maybe you saw your parents being excited about the moment, and it's like
So
now you're on the other side, you're like, okay, I
so
get it.
your whole podcast is kind of interesting. Kind of segues into that because I had a different experience.
Ah, fair enough. Okay.
So my mom was really involved, very excited. My dad was passive, and my dad was kind of like he was just there in the background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I didn't really get that father.
Oh, you didn't get the fireworks.
I get that father like, oh my boy is graduating, my boy is doing this, or it was none of those things. So it was just mom just kind of spearheading everything, and he was just there, and his presence was not felt.
Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of always default to my perspective because I had that, and it's important for me to showcase different perspectives. Would you say that it was an intentional, not fake, but an intentional act for you to make sure to show that for this graduation milestone for your kid, the excited moment that you feel for your kid?
Yeah. I took fatherhood period as intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into it just to kind of be just shallow and just telling you this, but I went into it with just, hey, I'm putting my all into this.
Well, you gotta have a baseline, right? Yeah.
Right. And I wanted to make sure that he didn't lack from a father standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to make sure that he understood that dad was there every day, the whole way. And he's going to be there every day, the whole way, until death do its part.
Forever. Yeah.
Right. And then even still, there's things that I'm leaving in him that is going to carry on. So I'm still going to be there. But I'm saying in the physical, I want him to understand that I'm going to be here all the way through.
So one of the things that I've heard from different people that I talk to on this podcast is the desire to carry forward all of the elements that they've learned from their parents that they feel are the warm and fuzzies, the positive items, right? I want my kids to have this because I had it, it works. What I don't want are the items that are negatively impacting, right? For example, you said your dad was a little bit more reserved and unplugged in certain areas. Do you feel like you're constantly trying to decide how much of what to put into this, or are you trying to just mix it all together and see what comes out?
No, I'm actually just I'm also filling him out, and I am not trying to be overbearing because that's a negative reaction from anybody if you're overbearing on him. So I try to give him not the hanging fruit, but I give him a piece of meat. That way he can taste it and know what it is that I'm trying to get across. And then if I feel like he's not getting what he needs from that piece of meat, then I'll give more to that. So I don't, because I made mistakes in the beginning, like trying to give him too much information. Plus he was too young, and he's kind of like, Dad, I don't. Okay.
So tell me about that. What does too much information look like? Because I think every parent wants to make sure they're preparing their child, and I think because there isn't a guidebook, we're always trying to. Did I do too much? Am I not doing enough? When is the right time to do ABC? When do we have that chat? Is now the time?
So
How
just,
will I know?
So just like at different milestones, I was telling him how to start thinking about things and how to figure out what his path is, and I just kind of went too deep into a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my son's the type of kid that you got to give him the meat and potatoes, and then let him taste it, and then you kind of look at your angles where you can need to insert more, or let him kind of chew on it, and then you kind of come back later. because he doesn't like a lot of things coming at him once. He feels overwhelmed very
So
easily.
I mean, it's feedback, right?
Right.
You know which lever, if you will, to press based on his feedback, which I think again requires paying attention and a lot of intentionality that a lot of amazing parents do. And where we see some of the struggles just based on talking to different people on and off the podcast is I think that because life gets away from them, they get real busy. They can't really pay attention to some of the cues. For example, I have some friends that live with us in Phoenix, and they're very attentive to their kid to the point where they know what life milestone they are on based on the fact that their kid is asking them questions about that. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, yeah, if you asked me about it, that means you're ready to know about it. So let's get into it, right? And I think that is a quality that is hard to learn, and it's just one of those things that you have to kind of decide this is the way it's going to be. So I say that to say, what do you where do you get your parental foundation from? Where does your fatherhood foundation come from? And it could come from anywhere. So
So, well, okay. Where do I start? So, when I was like I was like grade school, midway through grade school, I remember a lot of random things about childhood, not necessarily bad things, but
right.
just random things. And I remember like my dad was heavily influenced by people who were either associated with the family or a part of the family with religion. So my dad was kind of like, I can tell that I just kind of knew in a way that he was a target.
Mm-hmm.
So they were trying to rope him into this religious kind of, not, I wouldn't say a cult, but this whole Pentecostal.
So he's a Scientologist.
Like this whole Pentecostal, deep Pentecostal, Southern Pentecostal type of thing. And my mom was not feeling it. So my dad was always like distracted with
trying to understand what that was
for him, because they were always tugging at him. So I remember those things like in grade school. And then when I got to middle school, my dad just kind of went sideways with that. And he had an accident, almost died, coming home from work. And then while he was on his hospital bed trying to heal, the vultures
this was directly tied to his religious pursuits, or that was just...
So they were pursuing him prior to this accident,
right?
When I was in grade school, very heavily. You need to be doing this. You're missing your calling. All this craziness. It was just overkill. So when at that point, I had a functioning relationship with my dad. It wasn't heavily functional, but it was functioning.
Right.
So he actually would spend time with me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then middle school, when I started middle school, he had an accident. He almost died. And while he's in his hospital trying to heal, they came in, the vultures came in, the Pentecostal came in, and they just finally got him. And once they got him wrapped into that world, he was work, church. It was literally the two things. So I didn't have my dad anymore. And every time my dad interacted with me, it was a dissertation.
It was for religious purposes.
It was just a dissertation for everything, and he repeated the same stories over and over again. And so, like, for example, my clothes were wrinkled. Going to school in middle school, 6th grade, he would give me a dissertation about something that happened when he was 6 years old or whatever, 12 years old, and it was a 30, 40-minute conversation. But I'm like, I got to go to school, Dad. But but he's like, I'm like, what's it got to do with me out of my shirt? Just teach me out of my shirt. And so it was just one of those over-the-top conversations that had nothing to do with the issue that would need to be addressed, which is iron your clothes, kid. And so my dad had that connection. And then I used to watch pretty much from 6th grade a heavy amount of like family sitcom. And then I saw Dads, The Cosby Show, Full House, all these different family shows, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that had all these dads in the mix. And some of them were black dads, some were white dads. So I got perspectives. And I admired it as a 6th grader, 7th grader. I mean, you still don't understand what fatherhood is, but for some reason in my brain, I was like, man, I like that. It resonated with me. And I guess I took mental notes of those things and didn't realize it. And so I watched so much of that. Then by the time I got to high school, I was really heavy in sports. But I knew by the time I got to high school that I wanted to be a different dad than my dad. I didn't know what that meant, but I knew I wanted to be a different dad than my dad. And I knew that my dad was not representing any form of what I would want from a father. So,
Well,
not
it sounds
saying,
like representation on television was very important. I know a lot of people in the entertainment world talk about how representation is important, and it sounds like this is a perfect example of that. Now, it also sounds like you were very careful to curate out of that, knowing that it was a sitcom. A lot of it was scripted, but it sounds like a lot of the qualities of those characters is what you picked up on.
yeah,
So perhaps it's okay to say that some of the non-exposure or gaps left by your dad has allowed for you to be able to say these need to be filled as a parent who now has a child of my own.
yeah, yeah. Because it was a lot of hurtful moments just to see the disconnect that I didn't have in my later years in middle school and completely through high school. Like he barely came to any games, barely came to any track meets because he was either at work or church. And because my mom didn't agree with that, and we wasn't really feeling it either, it was me and my siblings, he kind of created that space between us and him. And so, and I knew that was wrong. And I just knew that was wrong. I knew that he should have been doing more as a father, like not saying like monetarily, but
Right.
you have kids. I mean, it's a being. It's human beings. You have to be there to give them, to nourish them, and to help them develop and all that. And he was just not doing zero of those things.
So do you think your mom may have adopted a lot of fatherly qualities to be able to
No,
maybe fill in the gap
no,
on that? No. Okay.
no. My mom, she did the best she could, and her thing was just respect your dad, just respect your dad, just respect your dad. And then on top of that, she just made sure as a mom that she took care of the house, make sure everything was good, and just make sure her kids was good. So she didn't attempt to fill in the gaps for my dad, So like my dad was just all he did was come home, eat, go to work, church, literally.
So I guess my question would be is do you let me rephrase this. How do you feel how did you manage to break that cycle? Because it sounds like it's a lot of our male adults today are repeating or absorbing what they've learned and producing it as adults and even kids, even when it goes into some of the abuse level that some people have received in their lives. They hurt people is a thing. So I guess how did you happen to pull out of that cycle?
I hated the absence of my dad. Hate is a strong word, but I hated the absence of him because if it was I needed him in my high school years and for certain reasons throughout school, as we need our parents, and I didn't have that access to him because he wouldn't allow that access to happen. So, and I found myself becoming angry at him when I got into my senior year,
Okay.
and I was really upset with him, angry because he just wasn't there, wasn't advocating for me when I needed him, especially when it came to the sports and stuff like that. And
Is that a way to kind of self protect
but the
the anger that you felt? Is that now I'm trying to be a psychologist, right? Is that a way to say I'm angry, therefore I'm not associating myself with you because I don't
no,
want that to
because
touch me anymore.
he was angry from his childhood, so I didn't want to carry.
Oh, so he's pulling that forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and just give you a quick synopsis. I mean, soundbite. My father walked out on him when he was 6th grade, 12 kids.
Oh, 12 kids.
Yes, so he was the eldest male. He worked. He knew how to be a dad. So he was just very tough on his kids.
Oh, I see.
So he was just rough, Southern guy, rough on his kids, like just very harsh, and it was his way or that's it. So it was a lot of tough things they went through. So my dad held on to that, and he brought that with him till this day. So I didn't want to do that, and I hate the feeling that I had inside of walking around angry at somebody. I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't know how to deal with my anger because I was frustrated. So again, television saved the day.
I mean, that's impressive. I think it takes a kind of person to be able to recognize that, because there's so many adults that I speak to on a regular basis that are incapable of realizing where they are, and that situational awareness, that emotional intelligence that says, this is not where I want to be, I need to change it. Some people just kind of reproduce it, or if they do change it, it's not necessarily in a positive way. It's in a more destructive way.
Yeah.
People fall into drugs and try to dull the pain and all this. So I think this podcast, by creating an avenue to hear these stories, the community can say, hey, that sounds like me today. Maybe I can turn the page, or at least talk to somebody about turning the page, or at least recognize that turning the page is necessary. So, I mean, there's 5 different ways of slicing, through this. And these conversations tend to allow for that to happen. It's therapeutic in a way without a licensed therapist.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I always felt that I was different from my own family because I felt like I was thinking deeper than a kid my age would think. I didn't understand how to work with that because I didn't know. I just thought deeper, and I was always.
Did you feel like you grew up faster than you?
In some ways, yes. I was far more responsible than most of my counterparts because, I mean, I was mowing the yard from the age of 10 and cooking, help mom cook around the house. By the time I was in middle school, I was doing all these things. So I was just like, out of my siblings, I was the more responsible one. And so I don't know if you heard my mom say at the table today at brunch. You hear what she said?
No.
She said I was the easy one to deal with. Because I didn't.
Oftentimes the more responsible one is the easiest.
Because I didn't like to get in trouble. I didn't like to get my butt chewed out and get a whooping. That's what he whooping back in the day. But I didn't want to get a whooping, and so I just try to stay in that neutral space. Let me do my stuff, do my part, and I'll be about my way. I don't want nobody on my butt and hounding on me, and so I kept myself in a space of being responsible for myself. So that's what I did, and I think that helped me mature faster than most of my counterparts. So I was always thinking ahead. And I was observative of a lot of things that I didn't realize that would help me be to where I am now. So, like, I observed my dad, and I was like, something's off about being a dad. Something with him is off by being a dad and doesn't feel right, and it's not my fault. I knew that in middle school.
So what do you think your son has learned from you that he could attribute to fatherhood? Because he's his own person.
Yeah.
From very young, he's been a very introspective kind of thinker, kind of a guy. Like, I'm gonna think this through, and I'm gonna find out where we're at. Which that's different from you in some respects, right? You're a very extrovert kind of guy. Let's big and loud and proud. Not proud as in gay proud, but proud as in proud of your family, proud of your connections, proud of the people that you've met. You're a cheerleader of sorts to the people around you. Not so much quiet, which is not a bad thing, right? Not everybody wants a quiet person all the time. So with that juxtaposition, if you will, that difference, what do you think he's kind of learned and pulled from you that he can use going into potentially maybe fatherhood at some point?
So one of the things that I noticed that in the males in my family is that there was never no accountability. And if you made a mistake, it was no ownership. I learned at a young age. I saw that. I was like, you're wrong. So just say you're wrong. Like, we can move forward. That's how I was thinking middle school. That's how I was thinking. So one of the things I learned from the Cosby Show was just be accountable for yourself.
What episode? What's
Really?
Was that? Is that Bill Cosby then or Bill Cosby now?
It was now.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Be accountable for your quaaludes.
Wow. But no, I wanted to. I taught myself how to be accountable for myself. Like I noticed that when you just own your stuff, things move forward. It's just a fact. And then before I became a father, some years before I became a father, I used to watch. I used to watch Oprah like crazy because I was always searching for ways to handle my frustration, my thought process. I had a lot of different things running around in my head of how I wanted my life to be and what it actually was, and how I was disappointed where I was at. I was too hard on myself. So there's a whole bunch of things going on all at once in my early 20s and late teens. And I just learned to just be accountable for myself and being truthful. Sometimes that can stab you in the back because some people take advantage of that. So I learned that. So I told myself, when I become a dad, I'm going to make sure my son understands that you do not have to be perfect. If you make a mistake, you own it. And there's been a multitude of examples that I've came up short as a dad, and I owned it. There's multitudes of issues. It's been multiple times where I came in too hard on him. I didn't hear him all the way through, and I had to come back and say, okay, I didn't hear you all the way through. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you all the way through. So let's work from this space here.
Let's try it again.
You're right.
Yeah.
So he's seen that his entire life.
I think that's an amazing quality. A lot of adults won't allow themselves to a child to apologize and say, I missed the mark here. Let's try again. But I think, again, much like my grandfather and my father and my husband Nick, they are very self-aware enough to know that we must emulate that which we expect our children to learn. We can tell them all day, this is the way you do it, but if they don't see it,
Yeah.
and I think that's the key item that perhaps you saw on television that enabled you to be able to make those decisions that you did at such a young age. But in a day and age where technology is omnipresent, right? Television, computer screens, phones. How did you approach that level of connectivity as your child grew up and became more
Constant interaction. Constant interaction and intentional in interaction as well. So it's always, every day to this, every single day, I check on my son when I come home. I text him sometimes, or I send him short little inserts of something positive every day. Not every day, but weekly or something like that. I check on him because I want him to understand that it's okay to understand your feelings, because there's a thing about being a man. You can't show your feelings. You got to be tough.
Right.
But you can't be tough all the time because you're going to crack.
That's
and when
stressful.
you crack, it is going to be a disruption. Sometimes it can be life-changing in a bad way. You can lose your job because you lost it. And, I want him to understand that it's okay to be present with yourself and deal with your feelings. It's okay.
Being a man is being emotional.
Right.
Yeah. Because we're human. We have
Right.
it, right?
But the old school method is that you don't show the emotion, or you're weak.
Bottle it up. Yeah.
But it's actually the opposite. So, and I learned that, from my experience with family members. So my kid, I wanted to be present. So I always talk to him, always give him positivity, always check on how you doing. Sometimes it annoys him. I don't care. Like, I'm like, how was your day? You asked me already. Oh, I forgot. So how was your day?
And give me the real answer. Don't give me that. Yeah, it was
then-
fine. No,
right.
no. That's not what I asked.
Now, all that me asking that stuff over the years, this last couple of years of his school, junior year and senior year, he has, because teens kind of shut down and kind of get quiet. They don't really vocalize what they feel. So as a dad, this is great. What we experienced in the last 2 years, he come home, we'll be eating dinner together, and he'll be like, well, I was upset today because this happened at school with my teacher. I think teacher's stupid.
Now it's natural.
Right. So now instead of us like, hey, we just let them get it out of the system, and then we come back and say, okay, so what happened? Like, why did she do that? Well, sometimes it's what teachers do. I know it's stupid, blah 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 blah. And then, so that creates him to feel comfortable just to sit at the table with us and just express himself.
Well, knowing that you are genuinely interested in knowing and not just saying it because.
Right.
And I think that goes into repetition and being able to stay the course. You've selected a path, stay on it, right? As a parent. And it, I think for me at least, it's less of what you're asking your child to do, and it's more of how you are behaving in order to get that result. Because you can tell someone all day, every day, they're not going to catch it. But what are you doing internally to get that result? Are you asking the right way? Is it the intonation? Are you, when you ask that question, are you just walking away and then it's like, okay, I got it? Or are we digging in like you did? Let's hear you out. Now let's talk about it. Let's break it down. Let's better understand. Some days are deep conversations. Some days are not, right? So it's recognizing the feeling of the conversation. Is today a heavy day? Is it not?
Right.
What would you say you have learned from having a kid?
It's made me be present in every way. And it's made me be present. It's made me become a better human being. Because I am an example of what my child see imperfectly. So it's made me be completely responsible. It's made me be mindful of what I do, how I do, what I say, how I handle situations. Because there was, even to this day, sometimes, well, Dad, that's what you did. I'm like, oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's the perfect mirror, right? It's like,
so you did it, so
man.
what's the problem? I'm like, well,
I get it all the
so
time.
I'm like, okay.
I hear it all the
And
time
then-
in Jacob's voice because he gets an attitude with me, and he's and I'm like, why are you talking to me that way? Well, that's the way you talk to me, and I'm like, damn it, that's right.
I know, and because I can be matter of fact and dry, and not intentionally trying to be rude or nasty. I just can be that way. Sometimes just be really dry, and I do that with Joe. Sometimes she can express that, right? She be like, "What's going? Are you upset or something? Like, are you?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Then she's like, "I'm like, oh, I'm sorry." And then sometimes he talks to me that way, and I'm the one that's kind of
Then
emotional.
you're
like,
getting all upset.
like I just asked you a question, like, why? What happened with this? Why I answered your question is what I just told you that. I'm like, wait, hold on, man. Like,
like I am
then
just parroting back to you.
Then Joe's like, she's like, babe, he be like, just how you said. And I'm like,
oh, Nick does that to
and
me
then
all the
Joe's
time.
like, Joe's like, babe, he's got a
Come on.
point. I'm like, God, jeez.
Oh, that sucks.
But you know something? That helps you be more rounded in how you can approach any person, but also your kids.
But I think you said something that is key here. You are parenting your child, but you also have Johada that's saying, hey, by the way, that question you're asking, this is why that's happening. And now you have an opportunity to say, okay, I need to change that. I need to intentionally change how short I am with him so that he can stop being short with me. And that's what Nick does for me as well, because I have my moments and he'll look at me just like Johada does to you. Hey, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine.
Just like that. Like, we the crazy one.
What are you talking about? I'm fine. Well, that's why he's talking, because you fine. And it's like, okay, I get it. So then that allows for me to either have a conversation with him. I tell him all the time, hey, I'm sarcastic with you. I need to change that. I am working on it. I tell him that all the time because I have a bad habit of being sarcastic. Well, that's what you asked me. So when he does that to me, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Who are you talking to? And it's like, well, that's how you answer. You're right.
And when Bryce was like 5, when you're like a sponge.
Yeah.
Somewhere around 5, like he was emulating some of my bad habits, and Joe pulled me to the side, and like she was concerned. She was like, "Babe, he watches everything you do." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, and she just starts naming things, and I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, That's what he's doing." So then I was like, "Ooh," and I have to go sit down with him and figure out how to have this conversation with a 5-year-old. That, hey, dad does this. That's not the right thing to do. That's not the right behavior. Those not the right words. Some cases.
Right.
Um. So dad
This is the
made
pre-you
right.
behavior.
So dad makes some mistakes. So that's not what you do. So make sure that you don't do these things in public and school. Let's work on that.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay. But I realized that to be a decent or great father, you have to be fully involved and intentional, and also allow the kid to have some form of soapbox to express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the soapbox part is the hard part, I think, because you have to keep them within the range, because they can be disrespectful, or you can give them too much range, and they can feel like they can do anything. So you have to find that range, and you have to do it early versus later.
Well, okay, so I think you're going somewhere poignant here. There's a lot that some parents do that they try to walk back, later in life, and we go, well, you should nip that in the bud so that it's not harder to fix later. We always talk about that in a way of trying to avoid something negative, as opposed to what you just said is encourage something positive. So if you start that early, then maybe you get the result you're looking for in their teenage years. So the intentionality there, again, it it's kind of interesting that you don't have a lot of that foundation coming from someone called dad, because it sounds like you're going down a path that's really laid out. Like you've really kind of sat down and said, this is what I want to do, is what it sounds like, because not everyone has the foresight to say, I'm going to create a space that allows for you to express yourself in this youth age so that it can blow up and be what it needs to be when you're a teenager, which is when we really need them to start talking to us, which is where we see a lot of challenges and issues with kids these days,
Oprah.
going quiet and, he's in his room all the time and he doesn't talk to me. And it's like, well, we just, we leave him alone. And then 3 months later, he's out there doing something he shouldn't be doing because you're not talking to him. You're disengaged. I'd rather not get involved. I'd rather not have the shouting match or whatever. I'd rather not have to fix the moment, right?
I want to be your friend.
I want to be your friend.
I have clients that way.
I had the same issue with Joshua, who's Nicholas's brother, and I raised him in his teenage years. And when I was not getting the result that I needed, it wasn't a shouting match with him, but it was a reduction in the amount of freedom that you receive in the house. And that was impactful. I remember I used to take the door off his room, and that was impactful because he liked to play his video games and be as loud as he wants. When that door comes off, it's different. Now your noise is in my space, and that's going to be a problem for me. So I think that being able to communicate needs and expectations with the proper amount of consequence early on is key, because now Joshua is one of those very trusted adults. I mean, beyond my wildest expectations. But again, that goes into some of the intentionality of engaging your kid with conversations, hearing what they have to say, giving them the room to fail if they do, and then encouraging them as they try to get up and get on that hamster wheel again, or try something different, or whatever it is. So kudos to you and Johada for doing that with Bryce, because now look where he is. He's a graduate. He's going to college. He has, head on his shoulders. He has a community that supports him here at home, in different cities, in different states. And I think that is key for not just this podcast, but for our family, and maybe even so, maybe unique. I don't know. Our community is kind of big. That's not the case for all families.
See that, but the weird part about my angle is that my family was really together until about middle school, and I don't know what happened. I still don't understand what happened. My family went separate ways.
Well, let's get your mom on the pod. No.
And so I saw family, then I saw the disbursement of family, and that really bothered me.
So you saw what you did not want.
I saw a lot of what I didn't want
Right.
and didn't like, and I always knew there was something better than what I saw. And I said, I'm going to, and something told me, like, I was going through my dad, like in high school, like, I'm going to create a better legacy for my family.
Mm-hmm.
And
legacy is a big word.
Because I saw a lot of snapshots of my grandfather, which is my dad's father, just hardworking man, bust his ass, whatever for his family, great guy, loving, caring, devoted Christian, but because it was a big thing for him, and he just was just a guy that didn't say a whole lot of words. He just worked and provided, and I took note of that mentally. So I immediately had great work ethics from the beginning. You ain't to tell me to do it. You ain't to tell me to work. I wasn't the smartest guy, but I would outwork the hell out of you. Still will. So those are some of the things that I took from my grandfather and for playing sports. So when I became a dad and Bryce started playing soccer, and I started utilizing soccer because that's what I knew, how sports and a team environment can make you responsible for yourself. Because if you're not owning your part on the team, it's going to show. And then that's a defining moment. Fight or flight. Are you going to fight and figure it out? Or are you going to fight and run away from that issue?
So we do have some Lego blocks coming from your grandfather.
Right.
Which is good to hear.
Right.
Because a lot of this is really generational. A lot of who myself and my brother and my sister are from my grandparents on both sides, who were remarkable individuals. And all of that has been passed down to our parents and now passed down to us. And now we have an opportunity to pass it down to our kids. So I think this is the generational type of thing that we want to make sure continues down the path, as opposed to some of the challenges that we have with parents who are unplugged and the kids are kind of left fending for themselves. Because if you create a vacuum, something's going to fill it. And oftentimes it's not the right thing.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right.
All right. So my last question here, what would you say is the cornerstone of being an effective father in today's world? Because 20 years ago is not today.
Being present and being adaptable. Because being a parent today, you have a lot of distractions on the kid side.
Mm-hmm.
And they have so many things at their disposal, mobile devices, social media. So to be able to be a parent, you have to be adaptable to what today is for kids, because you can't apply how things were when you grew up. You can apply some of those things, or you can modernize some of those things, but you cannot apply those same things because it just won't work.
Well, and you can't say, well, I don't know how that works, so I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
You kind of have to bring yourself up to speed.
Right. Like I've seen parents want to parent their kid with a device. Shut them up here. Take the iPad and sit down for a second. I'll come back in an hour. You can't do that, because that tells the kid that give me the device. I can do what I want to, and you're gonna leave me alone. I've seen it with clients and their kids, and I would advise that if you become a dad, that you just be present, you be adaptable, and you understand that if you will make mistakes, that's okay. But you have to own that, and you have to make sure the kid understands whatever you're trying to instill into them at that level.
Oh no, that's a good point.
Because
Yeah.
I was giving my son stuff. He's a first grader, but I'm giving him fifth grade information.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, baby, he didn't get all that. I'm like, no, he should know this. She's like, babe, come on, seriously. What were you doing at this age? I'm like, well, okay.
No, I think you make
And
a
she checked me, so
valid
that
point.
made me think different. Like, okay, so now I got okay. What is my angle with this kid? Is he's 6 years old or he's 12 years old, and I'm giving him 18-year-old information. So I got to bring it to a space that he can understand.
Right. We already know because someone or something did that for us at that level. Right. It's either the cartoons or the things that we engage with, which I think why YouTube is so dangerous, because YouTube will teach you things you shouldn't yet be learning. You don't have the capacity to understand what you're processing. So you end up, again, repeating by emulation what you've learned on YouTube and get yourself in trouble. But I think the common example that I see is where a lot of psychologists, kid psychology, would tell you you need to get down to their level physically. If you're talking to your kid, don't stand over them. That sometimes gives them, right? But I say that to say when you bring it down to their level, you're kind of at eye level. Hey, let's talk about this.
And it disengages the kids' walls.
Yes, when you have someone towering over you, you think you're in trouble. But if you sit down with them at the same level,
to them from an authoritarian type of.
It's the pitch, right?
Right.
It's
so if
that
I say,
pitch.
"Hey, Jamil, I need you to understand when I tell you to do this," you're like,
Yeah, you're
"Whoa,
like, oh,
whoa,
man,
whoa,
I am
whoa."
in trouble.
As opposed, like, it's not you just say, "Hey, I just want you to understand that when we go out in the store, right? Then
tone. I struggle with that sometimes, but I've come a long way. I've come a long way
too, because I have a little old school in me, and Joe's like, she tells me all the time.
I don't think it's old school. I just think it's
Well,
we're adults, so we're expecting our kids to respond to us as adults, and it's like they are not.
My wife is
there.
constantly telling me that, and I get it. But sometimes I forget it. That if me especially, Bryce is hypersensitive to me and my tone, hypersensitive. So I have to be very mindful of what I say to him, because he will shut down and he'd be upset and hurt by how I said.
And you'd be like, "What happened?"
Right, and so
It's that high pitch E that you use.
Right. So I've learned to just like, and I still get it wrong, but I learned to bring myself back in and check myself.
And I'm sure he's gotten it too, to a certain degree, because he's a smart kid. So I'm sure he's picking up on intentionality.
And an interesting thing that I recently learned is that I am a lot like my grandfather. As far as the drive, determination, what he had to work with to start with, 'cause I didn't have all the tools that I needed for my life. Standing out, and my grandfather sure as hell didn't have it. He was working from the age of 12 or 11 as a grown man. So just having that intuition to take chances and figure things out, and trusting yourself, and just going out there and wanting the best for yourself and for your family. And I realized there's a lot of parallels, that hustle, that grind, and just wanting the best for your family. So I've realized that we have a lot of things in common. Like, he was a serial entrepreneur, didn't know that. So I learned
grandpa DNA.
So I learned that, and I can never understand, like, why I'm so different from everybody.
Well, there you go.
And why I'm so intentional about being a dad. Nobody's like that in my family. So I am a modern version of what he probably wanted to be, I think. So that makes me very proud as my last name holder, and my grandfather, who was the matriarch of the family some years ago.
Well, I'm sure he would have been proud that he was at least able to pass
He told
that
me
down
that,
to
actually.
one. Oh, is he still alive?
No, he told me that shortly before he passed.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, as a parent, you can understand anyone saying, "I'm so excited that some of me remains in this world, even after I will depart it." So, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, Robert, I appreciate your time today. This has been fantastic, hearing different perspectives from individuals, and certainly perspectives that don't necessarily mirror my own or someone else's. I think is unique, that you've even gotten to where you are today, raising an 18-year-old that's gonna do some amazing things, and still have the opportunity to, as a father figure, help with other people, and maybe even be a grandfather one day.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's a real thing that could happen.
Yeah, I need about at least 6-7 years for that happens.
It's out of your hands, sir. You've done your job.
I'm speaking into existence, as your mother say.
All right, sir. I appreciate the time. Thank you. I hope everyone joins us on our next podcast.
Do it. You can never find somebody do it like me. I'ma turn it all the way up, cause it kamikaze. Go ahead and try, baby. You are gonna see that you'll never ever find somebody do it